I woke up at 5:30 that morning because the turkey needed to be in the oven by 6. My kitchen was already crowded with ingredients from the day before. Potatoes piled in the sink, bags of cranberries on the counter, and the pie crusts I'd prepped last night wrapped in plastic. I'd promised my son Tyler I'd handle the whole meal this year so his wife, Megan, wouldn't be stressed. That's what he said over the phone 2 weeks ago. Tyler, Megan's been really busy with work. If you could just do the cooking this year, that'd be great. Just bring everything over to our place around 3. Me? Everything? Tyler, yeah, you're the best. We'll handle drinks and stuff. I should have known drinks and stuff meant a couple bottles of soda. By 2:15 p.m., my kitchen smelled like Thanksgiving. Turkey resting under foil, mashed potatoes in the slow cooker, stuffing in a big casserole dish, 3 pies on the counter. I packed everything in foil trays, loaded it into my car, and carefully drove to Tyler's house. When I pulled up, cars were already lining the street. Inside, the place was packed. Megan's parents, her 2 brothers, and even one of her coworkers I'd never met. The dining table was set, but I noticed something right away. The chairs were filled. I carried in the turkey first, setting it down on their kitchen island. Megan, careful, the pan is hot. Where do you want the sides? You can just put them anywhere for now. I went back to my car for the stuffing, pies, and potatoes. By the 3rd trip, my coat was off and my sweater sleeves were pushed up. I looked over at the table, not a single empty chair. Tyler, did you want me to help set out the food? Yeah, we're just figuring out seating. We might have a little, issue. What kind of issue? Megan, we only have 8 chairs and there's 9 adults. I looked at her, waiting for her to suggest pulling a chair from somewhere else. She didn't. You have stools at the counter. We don't want people eating at different spots. It's awkward. Tyler, avoiding eye contact. Mom, maybe you could just eat later after we're done? For a second, I thought I misheard him. You're telling me I can't sit at the table for dinner? It's just that my parents and brothers are here, and they've never missed Thanksgiving together. You understand, right? The room got quiet. Megan's mother was looking down at her napkin. One of her brothers coughed. Tyler just stood there, not saying anything. I stood in their kitchen, the smell of the turkey filling the room, and realized I'd been on my feet cooking since before sunrise, for a meal I wasn't even invited to sit and eat. I glanced at the table again. Megan's parents were in the center, her brothers on either side, and Tyler's seat was squeezed between one brother and that coworker. The plates were already set. Wine poured for some of them. It was like I'd walked into a dinner that was already in progress, only my food hadn't been touched yet. Me. So where exactly did you think I was going to eat? Megan, shrugging. Maybe in the living room. We have the TV on in there. Me. By myself? On the couch? Tyler. It's not that big of a deal, Mom. I stared at him. Not that big of a deal was easy to say for someone who hadn't peeled 10 pounds of potatoes at 7 a.m. I walked over to the counter where the trays were stacked. My turkey looked perfect, golden skin, juices pooled under the foil. The stuffing smelled rich with sage, but no one was even looking at it. Megan's mother was telling some long story about their summer trip, and Tyler was nodding along like nothing was wrong. Me. Tyler. I'm not eating in the living room like a child, and I'm not eating after everyone's done. Megan. Sighing like she was the one being inconvenienced. We just don't have the space, and my family's always sat together. It's tradition. Me? You mean your tradition? That made Megan pause. She fiddled with her wine glass stem and looked at Tyler like she expected him to back her up. Tyler, Mom, can you just not make this a thing? Something in me snapped at that. My voice stayed calm, but I could feel my heart pounding. Me. I've been on my feet for 9 hours. I cooked your Thanksgiving dinner, and you're telling me there's no seat for me because your in-laws take priority? Megan's coworkers shifted uncomfortably and pretended to check their phone. One of her brothers reached for the bread basket like he wished he could disappear. Tyler rubbed the back of his neck. Look, we appreciate the food, okay? We do. But nothing. I walked to the counter, peeled back the foil from the turkey just enough to release a rush of steam, and then started covering it back up again, tighter this time. What are you doing? Megan said. I'm packing it back up, I replied. Wait, what? You can't just... I can, and I am. Tyler finally stepped forward. Mom, come on, don't be dramatic. We're about to serve. You already did serve. You served my seat to someone else, I said. I started stacking the side dishes back into the foil trays. My hands were steady, but my jaw was tight. Every clink of a serving spoon against the pan sounded louder than the chatter around the table, which had gone almost completely silent. Maybe she could, but Megan cut her off. Mom, stay out of it. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stood in that house. I reached for the pies next, one by one, and put them back into the carriers. Tyler was still talking, something about just grabbing a folding chair from the garage. But I wasn't listening anymore. I'd made up my mind.
Tyler stepped in front of me like he was going to block the counter. Mom, you're overreacting. It's just one meal. One meal I cooked. Alone. For all of you. And apparently, I'm not good enough to eat it with you. I slid the tray of mashed potatoes into a bag. The steam from the stuffing was fogging up the plastic wrap. I could feel every set of eyes on me, but no one was saying much now. Megan, you're seriously taking the food? That's childish. What's childish is treating the person who made your entire Thanksgiving like an afterthought. Tyler looked embarrassed now, glancing at Megan's family like he wanted this over with. If you leave with the food, you're going to ruin the whole dinner. Looks like it was ruined before I got here. I grabbed the turkey pan. It was heavy, but I'd carried it this far and I could carry it right back out. I walked toward the door, balancing it against my hip. Megan, stop her! She's not going to. He cut himself off when I opened the front door. Cold air rushed in. I stepped onto the porch, the foil trays clinking together and the bags hooked over my arms. Behind me, I heard chairs scraping back. Megan's brother, so what do we do now? This is insane. Absolutely insane. Tyler followed me outside. Mom, come on. Where are you even going with all of this? Somewhere I'm welcome. I walked straight to my car. He trailed after me, still trying. Just bring it back inside. We'll find you a chair. You had your chance to find me a chair before I got here. I popped my trunk and started loading everything in. The smell of the turkey filled the cold air. And for the first time all day, it didn't smell like work. It smelled like freedom. Tyler stood there shivering in his dress shirt. You're making a scene. No, I'm making dinner for someone else. I shut the trunk. As I got in the car, I glanced back at the house. Megan was standing in the doorway, arms crossed, looking like she just swallowed something sour. Her family hovered behind her, watching, but not one of them said a word. I put the car in drive and left them standing there. I drove 3 blocks before I knew exactly where I was going. The Johnsons, my next-door neighbors, had told me earlier in the week they weren't doing a big Thanksgiving this year. Their daughter had the flu, and they'd planned to just heat up some soup and watch movies. When I pulled into their driveway with my trunk full of Thanksgiving, I saw Mr. Johnson coming out to grab the mail. "Well, you look like you've been cooking for an army." "I have, and the army told me I wasn't invited to eat it." He frowned. "Come inside." Within minutes, their dining table was cleared, and we were unloading turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pies, the works. Mrs. Johnson kept shaking her head in disbelief. "They really told you there wasn't a seat?" "Not a seat, my seat." We set out the food, and the smell filled their whole house. Their teenage son came down the stairs sniffing the air like a cartoon character. "Whoa! Did you guys order a feast or something?" "Better. Our neighbor brought it over because some people don't know how to treat family." By the time we sat down, the table was covered. No one cared that it wasn't their tradition. They just passed plates, poured drinks, and made room. Halfway through the meal, my phone started buzzing on the counter. Tyler, then Megan, then Tyler again. I ignored them. By the time dessert was served, my phone screen was stacked with missed calls and unread texts. I flipped it over so I didn't see the numbers climb. We ate until we were stuffed. We laughed, and for the first time all day, I felt appreciated. When I finally picked up my phone hours later, the number on the screen read 89 missed calls. The next morning, I woke up to sunlight streaming through the blinds and the faint smell of turkey still clinging to my hair. My phone was on the nightstand, buzzing again. Tyler. I let it ring. When it stopped, I scrolled through the notifications from last night. 89 missed calls, 37 text messages, half from Tyler, the rest split between Megan and an unfamiliar number I guessed was her mother's. I opened the first text from Tyler. Tyler. "Mom, this is ridiculous. Call me." Tyler. "You embarrassed me in front of everyone." Tyler. "It's just a chair. You blew up over nothing." Then Megan. "Megan, I cannot believe you made a scene like that. My parents were shocked." Megan. "Do you know how disrespectful it was to take all the food? We didn't even get to eat dinner until almost 6 because we had to order takeout." I sat there in bed, rereading that one. Takeout. On Thanksgiving. The phone buzzed again. This time I answered. Me. "Hello?" Tyler. "Finally." "What the hell, Mom?" "What the hell? I cooked your entire meal, and you told me to eat on the couch like a kid." "We just didn't have enough chairs. You could have eaten after or while we made room." "Made room? That would have been before dinner, Tyler, not after you'd poured wine and set the table without me in mind." There was a pause. I could hear him sighing. Megan's parents have never missed a Thanksgiving with her family. It's important to her. And apparently, I'm not part of that family? He groaned. "You're twisting this into something it's not." "Am I? You had 9 adults for 8 chairs. Guess who got cut? Not Megan's coworker, not her brothers, not her parents. Me." He was quiet for a moment. Then his voice got sharp. "Now, Megan's family thinks you're unstable. You stormed out with all the food. That's not normal, Mom. What's not normal is asking someone to cook for 9 hours and then telling them they can't sit at the table." In the background, I heard Megan's voice. "Tell her she needs to apologize." I laughed. I'm not apologizing, Tyler. So you're okay with ruining Thanksgiving? No, I'm okay with walking away from people who treat me like I don't matter. And from the sound of it, you ruined your own Thanksgiving with your priorities. He tried again. Look, can we just forget about it? Bring the pies over today and... The pies are gone. The Johnsons loved them. Dead silence. Then Megan in the background again, louder this time. Are you serious? She gave our food to the neighbors? Me. Correction. My food, my ingredients, my labor, my time. He muttered something I couldn't catch, but his tone told me enough. Tyler, if you want me at Thanksgiving again, next time you make sure I'm invited to the table before I walk in the door. He didn't answer right away. I could almost hear him clenching his jaw. Finally, fine, whatever. I'll call you later. I hung up before he could, and for the first time in years, I didn't feel guilty about standing my ground. The calls didn't stop. By Sunday afternoon, my voicemail box was full. The texts had gone from angry to guilty to performatively sweet. Then came the group text from a number I didn't have saved. Unknown. This is Maiden's mom. I just want you to know we were all very hurt by your behavior. Thanksgiving is about family, and your actions made it unnecessarily tense. A second later, Megan's mom. We understand you worked hard, but traditions are important. You could have been more gracious. I stared at the screen for a long moment before setting my phone down. Gracious. That word stuck like a bone in my throat. Not 15 minutes later, there was a knock at my door. It was Mrs. Johnson, still in her cardigan, holding a plate wrapped in foil. Mrs. Johnson, we didn't finish everything, and I thought you might want some leftovers back. Me, you didn't have to. Oh, I know, but you should also know. She glanced down the street toward Tyler's house. Megan's brother came by this morning, said their Thanksgiving was a complete bust. Apparently, the takeout place messed up the order and the food didn't show up until after 8. People went home hungry. I raised an eyebrow. And they think I ruined it? She smiled, tight and knowing. Funny how that works. That night, Tyler showed up in person. He didn't call first, just knocked until I opened the door. Tyler, Mom, this is ridiculous. We're still dealing with the fallout. Megan's parents are furious. Her mom's saying you're not welcome next year unless you apologize. Me. Then I guess I'm not welcome. Tyler, can you please just be the bigger person? Me. I was the bigger person, Tyler. I spent my whole day making sure everyone had a beautiful meal. That's bigger than any apology you're fishing for. He looked down, then up again, softer this time. It made me look bad. Me. Tyler, I didn't do this to embarrass you. I did it because I will not be treated like the help. He didn't answer. From the doorway, Mrs. Johnson's voice floated in. She'd been bringing back my serving dishes and clearly overheard. Mrs. Johnson, you should be embarrassed, Tyler. Your mother made a feast and you let her sit in the other room? You're lucky she didn't take the silverware on her way out. Tyler flushed. This isn't your business. Mrs. Johnson, oh, sweetheart, when someone treats their own family like an afterthought on a holiday, it becomes everyone's business. For the first time since Thursday, Tyler had no comeback. He just muttered something about talking later and left. I closed the door and set the lock. Mrs. Johnson set the last casserole dish on my counter and gave me a wink. Mrs. Johnson,
Next year, you're coming to us first. We've got plenty of chairs.
1 year later, Thanksgiving morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee, not turkey. No alarm, no oven timer, no chopping board covered in onion skins. For the first time in years, my Thanksgiving to-do list was empty. Mrs. Johnson had invited me weeks ago, insisting I bring nothing but myself. She'd said it in that no-nonsense tone that made it clear she'd tackle me at the door if I showed up with a casserole. By 10 o'clock, I was walking across my lawn in a warm sweater, carrying a single pumpkin pie I'd baked just because I wanted to, not because anyone expected it. The Johnsons' house smelled like heaven. Turkey roasting, bread rolls rising, something sweet and cinnamony bubbling in the oven. Mrs. Johnson hugged me at the door. "We've got your seat ready," she said. "Where?" "Right next to the stuffing. I figured you'd want easy access." The table was already set. 12 chairs, all matching, all with enough space for elbows and conversation. Halfway through the afternoon, as we were laughing over dessert, I saw movement outside the window. A car creeping past the house. Tyler's. He slowed down, like he was trying to see inside without being seen himself. For a split second, our eyes met through the glass. He didn't wave, neither did I. A few minutes later, Mrs. Johnson's teenage son wandered into the kitchen with his phone. Mrs. J, I think Megan just posted something about Thanksgiving. Says their oven broke this morning. They're having frozen pizza for dinner." There was a ripple of chuckles around the table. I didn't say a word, just took another bite of pie. Later that evening, my phone buzzed with a single text from Tyler. "Hope you're having a good Thanksgiving." I stared at it for a moment, then put my phone face down on the table and reached for another roll. Some silences don't need filling. I was warm, I was full, and for the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I belonged, at a table where no one had to find me a chair.